Is that on? Yep. So, unfortunately, you might have seen that the title published for my presentation in the agenda was something completely different to what I'm talking about today. And also that introduction, I'm not talking about any of that sort of stuff today. So we'll leave, well, it may still be creepy in your view, but we're not going to cover that. So just to give you a little bit of perspective on Deakin for a start, I suspect many people know, but perhaps for the New Zealanders in the room, 55,000 students, 4 main campuses of the university. In the state of Victoria, if you start driving towards the west of the state, you'll keep finding a campus of the university. So we call ourselves the university on which the sun never sets. Just keep driving. 9,500 desktops, as we said, 3,500 staff, that translates into about 7,000 heads. A big culture of digital innovation at Deakin. So particularly over the last 5 years, we've had a new Chief Digital Officer and big focus on artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, cognitive systems, lots and lots of interesting systems. And at Deakin, just about every system except the one I'm going to talk about today starts with a title, Deakin something. So we have Deakin Watson as our cognitive platform. We have Deakin Scout as our equivalent to Siri for students. We have, what's some others? There's Deakin Genie, and our security program, for example, is called Deakin Shield. So the Deakin acronym gets used a lot on our IT initiative. Today, I'm actually just going to be talking about a journey we've had with a really common tool that's used in universities. It's not necessarily the tool that gets a lot of headlights, features. It's not one that we stand up and talk about a lot. And it's what started our life at Deakin as our IT service management platform. So when this slide was first put together, I noticed that in 2012, when I was responsible for implementing ServiceNow at Deakin, and although replace ServiceNow with your service management tool, I think is generally possible today. I don't think the product, and there might be a ServiceNow person in the room, I don't think the product actually had a name at that stage. So for all of us, it was just ServiceNow, and we implemented it within IT to service the IT needs of the university in the ITSM space or the ITIL space. So very commonly, as most institutions have done, implementing service requests, service incident, change, those sorts of common processes. Then we upgraded in 2013 to Berlin, upgraded in 2014 to Dublin. I don't know what it means for ServiceNow if maybe in 2012 it had been called the Auckland release, what that might mean, that you're part of a very old version or something like that. But the latest version, Helsinki, what you can see, ServiceNow have introduced new products. In fact, they have 2 releases each year, and with every new release, the product evolves in a variety of ways. So for Deakin, we've evolved it in terms of our usage of the product internally within IT, and as I'm going to spend a fair bit of time talking about, particularly evolved its usage across the rest of the greater university as a general service management platform, nothing IT specific. And that's really been made possible with most recent releases, Fuji and Helsinki. Along the way, for the IT people specifically, perhaps at some cost to us, we've probably reduced what we could have been doing with the product to help IT get better, to actually help our customers get better. Some small things, you can see the likes of, up on the screen, Soapbox AI is an AI plugin for ServiceNow. So any level 1, level 2 agent that's typing any information into ServiceNow, this is just a little free plugin that's available, it starts prompting them with what it thinks. We think this is an incident, we think it matches this incident that you've got in your knowledge base already. So it automatically can suggest to you the creation of a problem. We've got integration with MuleSoft, our enterprise service bus, and most recently, and in fact this is a recent innovation in the space just for IT. Initially, we actually use Skype for Business as our telephony platform right across the university. No one gets a handset at Deakin. We're very cruel and mean, so we only give people, either a Bluetooth headset or a USB headset. But our call centre platform is pure cloud, and we've integrated that with ServiceNow so that anyone calling us from what we would call a well-known number just automatically puts all the details into the service ticket and does a pop for the service desk agents. And the whole intent of us implementing ServiceNow for our IT people is to make their lives easier, to make them more efficient, more effective, either in servicing a request or restoring service. Around about 2015, we thought there was a fair bit of opportunity within the platform to actually help our customers throughout the university. Now, this might be our university only, I don't know, but lots and lots of paper forms, lots and lots of group emails being used for real business processes. So, there's been some feature at this conference, as with every other conference at the moment, to talk about cyber security. And so we've been running phishing campaigns like many of you have been doing. And yes, how much business gets conducted by people sending an email message to someone? Or it could be an email message to a group of people, 3 of them which could be temps, and one of them acts upon it because they're trying to impress a boss. So we found all these sorts of problems across the university. We had in 2015, just at the end of 2015, established a different group within what I call eSolutions, but that's our central IT department. And that's been a feature of our operation over the last 4 years, constant change within the IT department and bringing in different capabilities than we've had in the past. We've always employed the network engineers or the application developers, but this group was a group we called our process and performance team. Really no IT skills in particular. A lot of people with psych backgrounds and different sorts of culture to our traditional IT person, and they got set loose on the business. And what they found in the business is that we had patterns of process which were repeated over and over and over in the business and being performed over and over poorly. So the sorts of patterns that we saw, in fact I think I've got a diagram, the sorts of patterns that we saw regularly were request, approval, fulfillment. Request, approval, 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 fulfillment. So we mapped these right across the university. I know this is busy, sorry about that. And it's not a complete mind map of all the processes in the university, but we came up with this taxonomy of processes that could be converted to common patterns within the university. We considered that common process, and there were 2 of them identified, I'll go through the other one later on. They're really, really low-hanging fruit in the university for an IT solution to take away pain for the business. So at this stage, just looking at it, at this stage we've got a lot of those processes. The ones in green are already in production, operating. The ones in orange are in the process of being put into production, and whatever that other colour is still opportunity to be addressed in the university. So the process and performance team put together a vision for all the business units in Deakin. We took it to our what's called the DPO, Deakin Projects Office, to get some funding. Funding was released to basically move a lot of this process stuff out of group email boxes, out of paper-based forms, and put it into our service management platform. The approach that we used, this three-stage approach, we went looking for quick wins everywhere. And strangely enough, quick wins weren't just about digitising it for a start. I'll talk about that. But often getting the budget centres of the university to having an initial online capability, moving it from that paper-based or from that group email process just into a service management discipline was a big win for them. Firstly, we started to have some statistics about how often they were doing it. We had the opportunity to optimise it straight away. So we really focused. I don't know if your business units are the same as our business units, but if we go to them with waterfall style of approaches, we're going to get a solution design this big, and more often than not, we'll get to the end of that and they'll say that's not really what we wanted. So we took much more agile approaches to the development here, really went for the minimum viable product with very much a staged approach. With our very early initiatives, another amazing revelation occurred, and again, this may be very Deakin specific. Our budget centres were over-optimistic about their maturity. So they thought they had good processes in place. We ultimately showed them that they didn't. So we started to look at the end-to-end delivery here, and as I've already said, we put business process right out at the front of this. At the second stage, we put UX. So, we haven't even started using ServiceNow. We're starting to look at their process first, then having a look at what's the user experience that they're going to get, then we'll work out whether ServiceNow can do it in due course. So, heaps and heaps. I think we identified 97 forms in the university that we had that you could fill in for various things, delegations. So we redesigned all of those. What we'd seen in the past with a lot of work in this area was that the traditional techo would develop the form the way he'd like to see it. This time we took proper, and that's another addition to our IT department. We now have a really quite sizable UX team that goes out at the front line of a lot of our initiatives. We developed some form standards. This was work that I'd say we should have done when we did our implementation of ITSM, and we practiced some of this with our implementation of ITSM, but we didn't have it as well documented as we now do. So basically keep only what you need to on a form. Only ask the questions that need you to solve the problem. A very good example that I remember from our ITSM days was one of the requests that we had to have on a form was, let's record how much time gets spent on a ticket. So what came out of that discussion was we went to the reports where we'd had this capability for the last 5 years, and we'd managed to spend 1 minute of time on 10,000 requests, because that was the default answer, and no one ever used the system, no one ever looked at the reports. So we took that off in the initial implementation of ITSM until we had the management discipline to do something useful with that data. And we took that principle to the business units of the university as well. So the concurrent step that was going on with a lot of areas of the university was to look at their process. And as I said, they felt their processes were mature. We found quite the reverse. Multiple levels of approval, unnecessary steps in the process quite frequently. And this is an example here of our travel approval process. The left was what was as is. The right was what we came up. I know you won't be able to read all the specific details, and if anyone is interested in process maps, I can send them to you. But I'm sure you can see just from the example on screen, we significantly reduced the complexity of the process before we started to digitise it. I'm just going to give you a sort of precursor here. What started to happen across the university is our business process re-engineering team, or our BPM team, or our process and performance team started to be in huge demand across the university. Everyone knew that there was, I guess, digitisation at the end, but they were also a safe internal party for you to request to come and help you improve your processes. So with all those services that we had documented, they were in huge demand, so much so that it really outstripped our capacity, and we had to start prioritising. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of different systems that we've put in place over the last 2 years, in essence. So we've been going on this activity since the end of 2015. I really think we hit our straps in the middle of 2016. And this is a very simple one that I think is common to most universities. We'd let student comms get out of control. Multiple different ways, depending on who you were. You hit the blogs, or you hit the intranet website, or you hit the global email, etc. So in essence, we converted that completely to an online request approval fulfill process, and it looks as simple as what you see on screen. So it was accompanied with the rollout of a new student communication policy, which actually forced people to follow the right process, and the digitisation of it then simply enabled that. So once a staff member has made a selection, they'd be presented with a very simple drop-down. No, that's not really super bright on screen, but a very, very, very simple form for you to fill in the appropriate information, automatically routed to the right people for approval. And then for those of you that are familiar with ServiceNow, you'd start to see something that looks pretty ServiceNow-like-ish, which is back-end ServiceNow, perhaps some schema additions to a standard ServiceNow instance, but straight away we've got something logged, we've got it being routed the right way, we've got the ability, in fact, we've got the ability to change the process quite simply. It's all drag and drop in workflow within ServiceNow. And importantly, we can report on absolutely everything to do with student communication. So what channels are being used, where the requests are coming from, global university view. And this wasn't something anyone had data about previously in the university, so we didn't know what student communications channels were being used on a regular basis and the like. A second capability that we really went to market from our service management platform was knowledge management. So when we actually approached the business units of the university, How do you manage knowledge? How do you make sure when you get an inquiry in the front door that you service it in a consistent way? As I said, we're 4 campuses, we're 25 study centres that students can walk into. You want student servicing departments to serve very common knowledge. So knowledge for us has been a very high value, low effort implementation right across major areas of the university. A particular example, everyone talks about shared services. We have an area we call the Student Services Network. Student Services is staffed by a variety of people from around the university. It's a common go-to point on each of the campuses of the university. But you might find an IT person, a finance person, a student administration person, etc. And the concept was, initially the students would come to there and we'd bounce them across queues. Ultimately, the concept became any agent could service any request. The only way to achieve that was with a common knowledge base. Now, it's certainly a low-level knowledge base. If students have got advanced inquiries, they're going to have to go off to a level 2 type service. But the implementation of knowledge actually allowed that area to function effectively. It's been quite a success story of, as you can see, publishing 9,205 article views and just causing those disparate departments to come together as a common group because they were sharing this one IT system. They've created 700 knowledge articles at this stage. You can see we can report on what's the most common knowledge that's being requested. They can do extra training in those sorts of places. So we've taken what has traditionally been service management processes used within the IT department and we've moved them out to the business. Incident management, request management, knowledge management, been hugely successful in all areas of the business that we've taken them to. Demand's huge, and so successful that we've probably done ourselves a disservice in helping ourselves a bit more in the last few years. There's certainly some things I'd like to do within ServiceNow that have been trumped by these activities. But it's taken a new service offering to the university. For Deakin, this has been very, very important. We've done lots and lots and lots in the digital innovation space. We've got tons of great product in that area. We've done tons in your traditional IT service delivery, sort of making sure things are stable, making sure there's enough of everything, infinite RNet capacity and infinite storage capacity so that no customer's ever constrained by coming and asking for those things. But when they came to us, the business units would come to us wanting a big ERP. All of a sudden, they're starting to come to us for little stuff in the middle. And that's really, really a fertile space for us to be operating. And we needed to have a tool to operate in that space. It really suits that agile delivery that we've all been introducing into our organisations. And we're making our customers happy with little effort over and over and over again. Clearly, ServiceNow is enabling that in our institution, but I would suggest, if you've got a service management platform, whatever it may be, Remedy, Heat, whatever, I know ServiceNow would like to talk to you, but those platforms are certainly capable of doing some of the same things. Helsinki released a capability service portal, which allows us to do a lot more just within the standard product without using programming resources. And we're seeing that that's going to be an important feature for us. That one thing we probably haven't resourced enough yet is still back-end people. We've got, I think, about 3 developers working on the back end at the moment. We could use 5 or 6. And the other thing currently being talked about is whether or not we develop a business service management office. So we've traditionally thought about a service management office just being internally to IT, now starting to talk about one that would service the whole university. So a very good outcome for us. Questions? Angus, not unlimited capacity to RNet, nearly unlimited. Yes. So I probably covered that at a very, very high level. So we actually ingest articles from multiple sources and search multiple sources. We use our Watson source, because we've invested a lot of money in Watson, a very big, very capable platform. We used all of our FAQs, all of our intranet knowledge as examples, as ingestion sources. Then we pretty much took to the business exactly what we'd established for IT. So there had to be a level of authority to approve an article, but with ServiceNow, and I presume other products are pretty much the same, people can provide comments on articles, and that goes back to the owner of that article. So if you see an article that's got an inaccuracy in it, usually someone will show you in the university how smart they are. We're good at that sort of stuff, and we have to leverage, the crowdsourcing thing we have to leverage. We use that to make sure that, in essence, we've got the right number of articles. One of the things you would have seen if you just use a wiki, for example, for knowledge articles, you get disparity between what people think needs to be there and the like. ServiceNow, with its knowledge management module, is sort of forcing a framework around you. It's a framework that ensures consistency, approval, and that it's commented on if it's inaccurate, and feedback. And you can get stock standard reporting out of ServiceNow, reporting about how often articles have been accessed and the like. So it gives us all we want out of the box. Out of the box. Rob. We're using Gliffy. Someone I think it might have been Nick Tate telling me about how to save my Vice Chancellor from going to jail, said something about keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, he was referring to me. Gliffy, you actually saw some of the railway diagrams. That's been all we've needed to do. Some internal purists within our department have said, we need a proper business process engineering tool. Well, for 99 departments out of 100 that we've been to thus far, those simple one-page, two-page process diagrams have been sufficient. Plus, we're using patterns all the time. So, if we go into one area that, it might be, we've just done a solution for keys. We still have some keys in the university. We've got a fantastic proximity and location-based service offering where we use the Wi-Fi network for triangulation. We spoke about it, and as part of the proof of concept of that, we took a couple of residence facilities and made their doors open as you walk towards the door, but we still traditionally distribute keys to a whole heap of places in the university. So that was simply a request approval fulfillment process. So we just simply changed little bits and pieces within their process. A lot of reuse in that area. Gliffy, yep, not proud to say it's cheap tool, zero. And we use that very successfully. Sorry? Open source. Yeah, we're big supporters of open source. Yes? No. Deakin has had a policy